Have you heard the latest scary story about immigrant criminals flooding our streets? Donald Trump is seizing on a government report in claiming that there are 13,000 murderers roaming free. But what's the real story here? In this video, we're going to debunk the myths and reveal the truth behind these alarming statistics. Get ready to discover how politicians are twisting the facts to manipulate your fears. And we're starting right now. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government. But now, as an asylum lawyer, well, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending, or maybe you're considering applying. And listen, I'd especially like to hear from you if you've been waiting for multiple years for an asylum interview with USCIS. Let me know how long. All right, let's talk about the latest scare tactics being used to terrify Americans about immigrants. You might have heard the shocking claim that there are over 13,000 illegal immigrant murderers roaming free on our streets. Donald Trump has been shouting this number at rallies, whipping up a furor and striking fear into the hearts of his political base. I mean, the number does sound kind of terrifying, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that the claim is not just misleading, it's flat out wrong. So let's break down what's really going on here. So recently, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, released some data about non-citizen criminals on their list for deportation. Politicians and commentators, especially those on the right, have been twisting these numbers to paint a frightening picture. They're seizing on the report's contention that 13,000 people convicted of homicide are non-detained, meaning they're not in custody, or so it would seem. So what's the truth? Well, first off, the 13,099 migrants convicted of homicide are not all running around free. You see, most of them are actually in state or federal prisons serving their sentences. You see, when ICE says non-detained, they mean not detained by ICE specifically. So these people, most of them, are still behind bars, just not in ICE custody. Most are in fact in jails or prisons run by state or federal authorities other than ICE. Now you might be wondering about the small number who are not in prison. Has the Biden administration sort of just given up on deporting them, instead deciding, you know what? I guess you can just stay despite being convicted of a hideous crime? No, that's not the case either. These are mostly people who've already served their time but cannot be deported because we don't have agreements with their home countries to take them back. You see, countries like Iran, Cuba, and Venezuela sometimes just refuse to accept their own citizens back. So there's simply not, at least at present, any means to actually kick them out of the country. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. Okay, let's tackle another misconception around this fear-mongering that Republicans are doing concerning this report, which is implying that they came in with Biden at the helm. You see, these 13,000 convictions didn't all happen recently. We're actually talking about crimes committed over the past 40 years or more. Some politicians want you to think that this is all happening like right now, as if the Biden administration has let into the country all of these bad guys and now just refuses to do anything about it. But that's just not true. If it were, based on the number of homicides that occurred last year, immigrants would be responsible for 99% of all homicides in the US last year, despite only being about 4% of the population. And that's obviously ridiculous, especially given that study after study has shown that immigrants actually commit crimes at lower rates than the US-born population. So let's look at some real numbers. In Texas, which has a very large immigrant population, undocumented immigrants make up about 7.1% of the population, but they were only responsible for about 5% of homicide convictions in 2022. So that's actually less than their share of the population, not more. And let me also note that many of the 13,000 immigrants we're talking about came in during Trump's tenure as president, and during Obama's, and during Bush's, and so on. To call it a Biden problem is just disingenuous. And here's another important point. Not all of these convictions even happened in the United States. Some of these individuals were convicted of homicide in other countries and then came to the US. Yes, they should be deported, but it's not accurate to say that they committed these crimes here, as many Republicans are saying. So why are some politicians pushing this false narrative? Well, it's simple. Fear is a powerful tool in politics. By twisting these numbers and playing on people's fears, they're hoping to win votes. But it's crucial that we look at the facts, not just the scary headlines. Listen, it's easy to get caught up in frightening statistics, especially when they're repeated by politicians and news outlets. But as someone who's actually worked in immigration on the other side of the desk, well, I can tell you that the reality is far different from what some would have you believe. This kind of fear-mongering isn't just dishonest, it's dangerous. Just like Trump's false claim that Haitian immigrants are eating people's pets, it creates a climate of fear and hostility towards immigrants, many of whom are fleeing violence and persecution in their home countries. As an asylum lawyer, I've worked with countless individuals seeking safety and a better life in the United States. Listen, they're human beings looking for a chance at a peaceful life. The truth is, immigrants, both legal and undocumented, commit crimes at lower rates than native-born Americans. They're not a threat to our safety. They're our neighbors, coworkers, and friends. They contribute to our economy, our culture, and our communities in countless positive ways. So the next time you hear a politician throwing around scary numbers about immigrant criminals, well, remember this video, okay? Remember that the reality is far more nuanced than a single statistic, which can be twisted to serve sinister ends. And most importantly, remember that using fear to divide us only weakens our country. We're better than that. If you're ready to take the next step and get help with your asylum case, then please call my office right now. That number is 713-909-0401. And remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us now to schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's truly an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.